Hello and welcome back to Mirror's Signal podcast. This mini-series is brought to you by Talking Send with Dr. Julia Malkin MBE, which is a Patreon page where members get access to a large number of videos to help you understand your neurodiverse learners on driving lessons. This mini-series is 10 episodes with Julia, going through 10 tips for teaching neurodiverse learners. I hope you enjoy these episodes. Julia, welcome back to episode number 4 of our mini-series. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. How are
Thank you,
you?
John. I'm fine, thank you. Yeah.
Good. So we've had some really interesting episodes coming so far, covering 10 tips for teaching neurodiverse learners. So we're now on tip number 4. And
Okay.
what is it? What are we covering tonight?
Well, if you were to go into Google, you'll find a song called Accentuate the Positive, and the second line called Illuminate the Negative. And it says, latch onto the affirmative and don't mess with Mr. In Between. Now, what that means is that you're dealing with positives in the tuition rather than negatives, which means some of the terms that you're using, especially with questions, you need to alter the tone to be a little bit more plus than minus. There's several reasons for this. I'll go through them now. A lot of people, especially with ADHD, the combined type of ADHD with hyperactivity and the inattentive type, the combined type have got very low self-esteem. And if you were to use a kind of system of 1 to 10 for scaling, how do you feel this went? It's always reading very, very low when you're dealing with anybody with low self-esteem. But some ADHDs, they kind of like see the naught as a good thing because the brain's wired to look at it as if nothing happened, nothing bad happened, I didn't hit anybody, I didn't stall it. And they're looking at what could go wrong negatively. There's this negative didn't happen, that negative didn't happen, that negative didn't happen, therefore it's a good lesson. And so they'll need to know what is being a positive. So they need to know what a positive is. And I'm just going to just quote a little line about the positives, which I always mention to my people. And it's just very important because a lot of people need to know, and we call that counting up to 0. I wrote it myself, so it works well with the people. We say count up to 0 to begin again. We count up to 0 to ease the pain. And when we reach 0 and the pain is gone, we carry on counting and we get to 1. And that's what we're aiming at. We're aiming to see a positive, even though all negatives are gone. What's the positive you can see? Because it's very painful reliving all those negatives. A lot of people, especially those on the autism spectrum, they read a scale as a self-esteem scale as well. They'll need a little bit of help trying to identify what a positive is. They're probably not used to positives even happening. They've always been last at school or being bullied or let down by the other people and just thinking, where's a positive? I don't know where that is. How do I know that a positive isn't something called by just look on the day? What do you think that went? Do you think that went good? And they'll say, I don't know, you helped me. It was a good day, there was no traffic. The sun was out. Watch where they're parking the positives, as I call it, parking the positives. They're always putting it somewhere else other than acknowledging it in there. Is it your driving instructor? Is it your car? Is it the weather? Is it the level of traffic? There's always some reason why I had a good 5 minutes. It was luck. It was coincidence. It was just a one-off. And they get loads and loads of parked positives that go anywhere but in here. So they've got to know what a positive is. It's why we say accentuate a positive. Now, if you're dealing with positives, you're trying to alter the scaling and alter the system in the brain. You're changing the brain's outlook when you do it. So in other words, the first thing you're doing is looking back in your recapping and thinking what went well, and the average person on the spectrum will have trouble finding one. This was okay, but does it count because you helped me? That's quite common. And does this count because it was only just one mirror check? And we'll say, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Sometimes they won't even know what constitutes a positive to put on the list. And some people can't find anything to put on the list at all. Now, the second question that they usually ask after that is a little bit more negative bias when they say, what didn't go so well? Now, the average person will just say, well, they're working on 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think about that? But sometimes we can get upset. Sometimes we can burst into tears. Sometimes we get extremely unhappy. We get fed up. And sometimes we say, we'll never get this right. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. Because it's bringing a lot of bad memories up. That question brings the negatives up, the bad memories up. So we rephrase the question. Now, sometimes we rephrase it to, what parts of the drive need improving on? So that takes the personal approach away from the thing. Oh, no, I'm not reliving my past mistakes and thinking what happened at that nasty junction and how I missed that mirror check and, oh, I wasn't ready when those lights changed and all this, and thinking, oh, they're separating the drive from the person. And the big core of this neurodiverse negativity is the fact that 90% can't separate themselves from their work, so they can't take criticism too well. Whenever many of us are talked about our work and it needs a bit of improvement, it's not talked about like that. This needs fixing. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. So it's personal, personal, personal. And if they're grown into that as kids and the family say, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, 1, 2, 3, 4, they associate themselves and that work as being the same thing. So they've got themselves on the one side and the work on the other, and it's doing that. Now, you're not fixing a driver. You're fixing a drive. Drive is a different thing. It's not the person. It's the actions of the vehicle that need changing. So I always say, what parts of the drive, i.e. not you, do we need to improve on? So usually fix that and make that the goal for the following week, so it links up nicely and forms a nice little chain with no social imagination gaps. Hooray. And therefore they can easily understand how one part of it leads on to another, so it forms a nice linear sequence. Autism spectrum people say this is good because it follows this nice linear sequence without any breaks in the gapping, so they can follow it, which is no trouble. But it's a very positive aspect because that means I can look back at the drive and think, it's not me making a fault. It was a fault that happened in the car. It's a fault that happened on the drive. It's a fault that can be fixed. There's nothing wrong with me as a person. Therefore, we can get this fixed and say, right. And then we can think, what are the best ways in which we can go about this, getting this fault right on the drive? So, do you think our car was going too fast? So it's not you were going too fast. You say, I don't think our car is going too fast. We approach our lights. What can you do as a driver that will? Now, notice how we're separating it so much that we're using you as a good thing to correct this thing over here. As you, as a driver, hooray, can fix this fault on the other side. Say, excuse me, look, I've got a big fault. You, as driver, hooray, can actually get this fault right. So how can you, the driver, be able to fix this fault over here? So in other words, this is the negative thing here, but you, the positive, getting it right. What is the best way you think you can fix this fault over here? So thinking, right, so bringing the positivity into the person. Person is now not something horrible. I did this fault. I can't learn to drive. There's something wrong with me. I can never get this right. I can remember those horrible memories I had at that junction. I can remember that missed mirror check. I feel like bursting into tears. I feel like quitting the whole lot. But this time we're using the person as a positive. How can we get to the stage where you can fix this? What do you think we can do? Any ideas that you can give? Any ideas that you can give that we can discuss together as a team to get this drive right? So we're separating a driver from a drive to accentuate a positive by altering those questions to make a positive bias on it. So it's not, oh my God, I'm in trouble because I made a mistake again. No, it's, I'm going to be able to fix this fault. Fault's over here saying, hey, look at me. And this is the individual saying, I can fix this. So this will go right as well. They get 2 positive receipts. Fantastic, isn't it? And then you ask the brain, what do you feel now about you being able to get this right? Ooh, brain feels positive as well. So there's 3 positives. You've got the positive person, a positive driver, and a positive brain that thinks, hey, look at this. I can do it. I can do it. And that's what drives the self-esteem. You see, you've eliminated the negative out. You accentuate the positive, you eliminate the negative. And that's what we do, see? That's on to the affirmative, that must have missed in between. So it's not here and there thinking, oh, I'm weird sick. I daren't do this and I daren't do that in case I make a mistake. It's like if a mistake happens, it is part of the drive. It is not part of me. I'm not a bad person. Because these two parts are fused together very tight in many neurodiverse people that have low self-esteem. What do they do in the class? What do they do in the house? You stupid, you picked that up. You've done this wrong. You've done that wrong. You need to fix this right. You only got 2 out of 10. You did 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is why it's all right in the face and thinking, whoa, I'm a bad person. I can never do this. So the two fuse together. That person and that action become the same thing. So every single time an action is criticised, a person is criticised as well because the two fuse together. That makes the low self-esteem even worse. So it goes down and down and down and down. The number one illness that autistic people get is depression. They get more depression than colds and flu and toothache put together. Because the self-esteem has been weakened and weakened and down, 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 down. You can slow and you do this. And why can't you do it like we do it? Can't do that. Brain's different. Work with the brain. Remember working with the brain? We did that before, and this is where we can work with our brain. How do we do it? We separate the person from the task. It's not all fused together like that. You've got a task over here needing fixing, hello, and you've got an individual over here that can do it. Hooray. So you've got the two together, working with each other, rather than against each other, saying, no, 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 I can't do this. I can never learn to drive because I keep making mistakes and bursting into tears and blowing up behind the wheel and all of this sort of like outbursts that we can get. You can prevent all that happening, all this low self-esteem. You can make it better by accentuating that positive. You give that a go. Works.
There's a lot of information in there, Julia. I'll be looking forward to listening to that one back. But what's interesting is you linked it back to working with the brain, which was a previous episode that we've done. If you've not been there, go and watch that one after this. But also the links there with the communication as well, and how we phrase our language that we're using and how we talk to the learners and differentiate the person and the drive, and removing the negative bias, having a positive bias to what we're saying and how we're discussing moving forward as well.
It's very important to keep going forward. Always remember that. Remember the pain that they get for not being able to do it right, and the feelings are amplified a very great deal in many of us on the spectrum that's had a lot of negatives in our lives. We now have school no qualifications because I spent all school running away from the boys. Couldn't study as well, I'm too busy running. So what happens, brain naturally thinks I'm no good. So the pain they get from all these minuses and negatives, to get to a stage, I didn't stall it. Nothing bad happened. To me, that'd be good, wouldn't it? But you gotta go one step further and let them see positives. See positives happen. Count up to 0 to begin again. You count up to 0 to ease the pain, and when you get to 0 and the pain is gone, you carry on counting and you get to 1.
What a great message. Julia, thank you very much for this episode tonight. Really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So thank you for listening or watching that episode. If you would like more information from Julia, or you would like to learn more about teaching neurodiverse learners, you can find all the information in the description, or you can sign up to the Patreon membership. Just search for Talking Send with Dr. Julia Malkin MBE. Thank you.